Happy Saturday, happy Saturn day. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I am here with the week ahead astrology forecast and cards at the end. And I'm not going to lie that this week is going to be a bit challenging. You're like, oh no, not again. Well, it just is. So, I'm not going to lie. We have three planets stationing either retrograde or direct. Ceres and Mercury, and I'll talk about that. Uranus stationing retrograde. We also have Pluto moving back into Capricorn. So that's also a big shift in energy and a few other aspects around it. And the cards at the end also reflect this. So, as I record this on Saturday, we have a moon in Taurus weekend. We're starting to feel these planetary stations, but I would make the most of this weekend and rest up as much as possible and really get grounded because Taurus is really about the physical self, the body, nature. So, make sure you're doing your self-care, as I always try to get you to do. So then let me share the chart. We're starting the share on Sunday as always. And Sunday is, bear with me, um I'm just getting my PDF with all the list of aspects on it. So anyway, just to kind of tune into the energies as we start the week on August the 25th. As I said, the moon is in Taurus. Most of the day will be okay, and as I record this on Saturday, but as the moon approaches Uranus and then approaches its entrance into Gemini, things are going to start picking up. So even though I don't usually look at lunar aspects, I will. But before I do, I mentioned that Ceres will be stationing direct. Well, here's Ceres just within 9 minutes of Centaur Folus, which again, I don't always mention on week ahead forecasts, but this is pretty a big. And the nodes are also at 7 degrees. So this really is happening in square to the nodes. So I'll look at all of that. You can see that Pluto is retrograde, moving back in. Um, Mercury is at now at 22 degrees and getting ready to station direct. So this is a pretty pressured week, all in all. But we have all this lovely Virgo, so you can Vesta's just moved into Virgo near Regulus. So if you focus on your holistic health, your grounding, um, doing meaningful work, and kind of really kind of focusing on the detail, you will move through this week of big change. Okay. So Sunday, as I mentioned, the moon is in Taurus. And the moon will, move through Taurus, but the moon will conjunct Uranus, which is stationing, as I mentioned, at 6:15 p.m. And then the energy really starts to pick up. I'll go through, as I always do, on my daily reports for my Substack subscribers, the paid subscribers, all the lunar aspects, but I do think this one is worth mentioning for everybody. Because if you remember, we've had the Mars-Uranus conjunction that was at 26 Taurus with Algol. That kind of well, it started the downfall in some ways of Trump, also of Biden, the old um, paradigm, nothing about them um, personally, but this is, activating that again because Uranus is stationing. So that's at 6:15 p.m. Mountain, sorry, Eastern. I always use Eastern time. And then pretty much right after that, at 11:03 p.m. Eastern, the moon moves into Gemini. And that's really the only aspects that I'm going to mention to you for the week ahead. So on to Monday, and well, you know, hold on to your hats, really. So I've mentioned it before, and I did a video just on Ceres. Ceres stations direct at 3:38 a.m. on Monday at 7 degrees Capricorn. But at the same time, we also have a last quarter moon at 3 degrees Gemini, Virgo. So that's also a crossroads time. And then at the same time, and I don't usually mention this because I use the true calculation of the nodes, and they do station direct and retrograde quite often because it's the osculating nodes. But the nodes also station at 7 degrees Aries, 7 degree and 7 minutes, kind of all within minutes. So let me give you the times. Ceres stations direct at 3:38 a.m. Eastern. We have the last quarter moon at 5:25 a.m. Eastern, and the nodes then station at 5:35 a.m. Eastern. So all of this is really happening together. Well, so we've got this big T square, and Ceres is at 30 degrees 55 minutes south of the ecliptic, which is so far out of bounds, acting so far out of character, extreme, eccentric, and so on. And for Ceres represents many, many things. She represents, she's the great mother of the earth. She represents our needs, both met and unmet, both physically and spiritually and mentally. She represents our nurturing, how we've been nurtured, how we might choose to nurture, but I often find if we've had a tough Ceres, we often go to the opposite point, but that's another matter for the book I'm going to write. And then this is in Capricorn. So we've been seeing, one of the things we've been seeing is how the structures of our lives are not working. Okay. And this is extreme. This is bringing everything up to the full, to, in our face. And this is Centaur Pholus here, which again, I don't always mention on these week ahead reports, but I can't separate it out for this. Ceres, it's also at 7 degrees, 20 minutes of Capricorn, will not leave that 7 degree either, but stations direct later, is kind of sudden transformation in many ways. He's the Pandora's box centaur, takes the lid off it. Once it's out, once the lid's off, we can't kind of go back. So you kind of get the feeling of where we're going here. And then it's square to the nodes, which is huge. I have got another astrologer friend on Facebook, Michelle Finey, out of Australia, who says that she has been doing some research on earthquakes, and she didn't go into all the details that she's seeing, but she said, this is literally kind of earthquake kind of energy. And of course, earthquakes kind of shake things out. She was looking specifically at actual earthquakes. She said there could be an 8+ earthquake, like in the next few hours, the next day or so. That's her research. But I see that also kind of energetically. There's gonna be some big kind of earthquake shift around this. Now, of course, it's square to the nodes, and we've got the Libra South node here, which we've had for some time. We've also got Black Moon, Lilith, and Juno conjunct the nodes, and the Aries North node here. And we've been living with this South node in Libra for quite a few months, where the nodes move out of Aries and Libra in January. And we've also got the eclipses coming, so they are new and full moons on the nodes. But this is like Lilith, rage, angry, divine feminine energy, if you like, saying, fun kind of thing. And then we've got Juno here. Juno's saying she's the sacred partnership or marriage and children asteroid. And Libra, the South Node, in its essence, is no more playing nice. Not, we're done. We are no more playing nice, taking the stand. This isn't filling our needs. This isn't working for us. And this will apply in every energy of area of life. When I write about this on my Substack, I probably will look at the symbols as well for all of this. But, I cannot emphasize this is such a earthquake breaking start to the week. You will feel it most if you have energy around 7 degrees. This happens to be on my Saturn. So, but please know that, this can be internal earthquakes. This can be good earthquakes as well. It can just be like, no, I'm done. I'm not taking this anymore. I'm ready to step into this Capricorn energy of like building my own structures, building my own expertise towards the Aries North Node, which is like I'm ready to take action now. So it can be a really good square as well. So, I know a lot of people go, oh, earthquakes, but earthquakes kind of like shift the energy. So this could be a good earthquake, but it could also be some real kind of crazy earthquakes out there in the world as well, and especially kind of in our institutions and so on. So, everything has a yin and yang. Please don't fear it. But I also think that, we can be prepared. We can kind of buckle up and go, get a bit of a backbone, which is very Capricorn, and go, all right, I'm ready to take this on, if you like. So I might do, if I get time, I don't know if I will do another quick video and look at the US candidates charts with this. But it's a big square. And then Ceres will start moving direct. So anyway, just on a minor note, the moon's in Gemini all day. You're like, oh, just go to that. So, but of course that means the moon in Gemini is kind of going to go over all the kind of crazy mutable energy we've had as well. It's bringing change. So it's, worth mentioning. So then on to Tuesday, adding to all of this, Venus is now over here in lovely Virgo. Earth, but Venus rules the sign of Taurus and she rules that south node. And she makes a lovely supportive trine to Uranus, but Uranus is also stationing to go retrograde. And I think that's adding to this liberatory, earthquakey, break free energy, even though it's a trine. Now, to look at the Venus cycle, which you guys know I always do. And by the way, I'm teaching Venus Star Point Level 1 next Friday, the 30th, a masterclass with a follow-up Q&A after my best mate goes back to England, which will be on September the 20th. And I'm teaching that for the first time on September the 1st. And I'll probably never do it at this price again with a Q&A as well. So I'll post the link in the description. But the Venus star point is one of these energies that's this hidden energy underneath that's changing things. And Mercury is about to station direct on the last retrograde star point from last August and more. So, the Venus star point adding to all of this for big changes, but also internal changes and internal gifts of Venus is really kind of adding to this. But anyway, back to today. Venus and Uranus, this kind of feels like more kind of liberatory aspects. you know, if I could sum it up in some ways, it's this divine feminine energy, this yin energy just rising up, and this more creative, um, connected energy saying, we're done with this. We're kind of done with this paradigm of dominator ruling in all ways. All right. So, and one thing I will quickly mention that's happening on Tuesday as well is that Hygeia is also stationing retrograde. She's preventative, holistic health, also in Venus's sign. And, you know, this is a real call to make sure you're doing this self-care through this big, big, big time. And if you notice where she's stationing retrograde, it's in an aspect to Ceres and Pholus. So please focus on your self-care this week. It's going to be big. Some of it's going to be awesome, but there could be some shocks and turnarounds on the way because we've got well, Ceres just stationed direct, but she's going to go, all right, I've finished kind of my review, my mopping up in a big way. And so she's going to start moving forward. But Hygeia is saying, in Taurus, is saying, please don't forget to look after your mind, body, spirit, health, and stay grounded and rooted through all of this. The only lunar aspect I will mention for Tuesday is that the moon will then hit Mars and Jupiter and activate all, and, you know, all that mutable grand cross that we had under that big full moon last week. So something's, you know, being released, letting go, changing perceptions, changing views. You know, in line with my more political bent now, or my feeling the need to speak out about it, I will mention on this note that I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who I love dearly, but he's a male and stuck in some of this old stuff still. There was a thread on my page, Facebook, saying one of my friends said about if we can get enough reasonable Republicans to come over to our side. And he was like, there are no reasonable Republicans, and blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, well, you know, it's the ones that realize the Republican Party's gone too far. And then he was always like, yeah, buts, yeah, buts, yeah, buts. But you know, he's got this trauma too. And you know, he said, but you know, if these, you know, Republicans come over to our side, they're still going to vote against her policies. And I was like, yeah, but we're not just talking about the lawmakers who have a vote in Congress. We are talking about the people, the voters. If we get her enough of a majority and enough seats in the House and the Senate, it won't matter what they do anymore. You know, I think if we could make it um, filibuster proof, there's where the big change would come in. So the last aspect on Tuesday, 27th, but this is an example of what an earthquake this could be bringing overall, okay, as people rise up. And Libra, this is alliances and compromise, and this is people changing perspectives. So this all those things, you know, it's like Ceres, the people in the Republican Party going, hey, might not like the policies, but I'm going to vote for Kamala because she's best for the country. So if we can bring enough people on board who are Republicans, are like to the far left as well, and just say this is the only reasonable choice. So this is just an example for you of what could change this week. More people kind of just going, oh, had it, gonna vote for her no matter what. There's no, it's a no-brainer. Anyway, the last aspect on Tuesday is late at night. Is it on the 27th? No, it's early on the 28th. Let's go into 28th. So Mars, you know, where I mentioned that the moon will activate all this. Mars will then sextile Eris in Mars' home sign. Mars and Eris, brother and sister. They are kind of the guardian, warrior, and also Eris, the truth teller, who reveals the truth about the ick in humanity, if you like, and the elites and unfairness and the outsider. Well, maybe you can see where that's going. But it's a lovely supportive sextile with Mars moving away from Eris, saying it's time to fight for the outsiders, the marginalized. Okay. This is just the overall trajectory of the astrology, and it's unfolding out in the world, but you'll feel it in yourself as well. This is about, all right, time to take a stand, time to fight, and not just in the US, but you know, the world. And so the moon will move into Cancer. Okay, the moon will move into Cancer at 4:47 a.m. And we're in the waning moon before the new moon that's going to be on September the 2nd. Already done a video for that. Things are going to start getting very emotional, but also like I want to, you know, look after me and mine and make things secure. The moon will be in Cancer for a couple of days. And the 28th is actually a bit nicer day, even though there's a lot of aspects, but it's also another turning point. So there could be a little bit of confusion on this day, Wednesday. So if it's possible for you, I would plan on Wednesday to kind of stay home as much as possible or stay wrapped in a virtual kind of blanket and feel into this more creative, emotional kind of protective space, do even more self-care. What a week it is. Because at 4:24 p.m. on Wednesday, Venus opposes Neptune at the last degree. And I'm actually going to, you know, kind of get this exact because we'll get closer to the other energies that are happening. So you can see 4:24 p.m. Venus reaches the anoretics. This is another 10th degree and opposes Neptune. And Neptune has been at that degree for most of the year. This is on this practical mystic axis. It's where the nodes are going to move back into. I've already done a video on that as well. But this is endings. This is liminal change space, adding to the liminality and the shifting sands. But I want you to really see what's going on here. So as Venus and Neptune are opposing each other, really they are in a T-square to Mars. Venus, the masculine and feminine, if you like, the yin and the yang, saying, time to come together. And we see it. We see people starting to come together. Kind of on the side of right and meaning. This is Virgo. And Neptune is letting go of some of those old beliefs and letting go of some of those old kind of faiths and trust and just thinking I have to have trust in this, what's unfolding now. Okay. At the same time, the moon will oppose these two, which we've already seen, and we've got a cardinal grand cross, which is adding to the change. Okay. Just an amazing week ahead. Then at 5:13 p.m., Mercury will station direct and will start to retrace his steps. And of course, you know, Mercury is at making some aspects, is really in square to Jupiter, or sorry, sextile aspect to Jupiter, in a trine aspect to Chiron, healing. What we've been going through and reviewing and so on, we're going to start speaking about it, taking action about it. This is such a shift in midweek. So hump day is like shifting sands, building on the already shifting sands of the start of the week. Then later on that day, the Cancer moon, told you I was going to talk about more, um, squares the nodes, as I've already mentioned. And by the way, the nodes are now at the degree, well, they will be. Let me, oh, no, not quite. No, not quite, but almost. The nodes are about to move back to 6 degrees, which is where they'll be through the eclipses. But the moon is going to oppose Pholus and Ceres, is going to square the nodes. But look what else they're squaring. These two are moving even closer to this. You know, I think the groundswell of women, Black people, people of color, marginalized people, LGBTQ, that have arisen because of what's happening in the world. Again, it's not just in the US, but it's the people going, you know, this, I want my freedom. You know, you were giving it to me and you took it away. And this will be reflected in many, many places. Okay. Such a changing week yet again. Wow. Oh, and that is kind of the peak of the week, but we haven't finished yet. So on August the 29th, I'm not even going to go back to the start of the day. Venus moves into her home sign, Libra, and will join all of this energy. Venus is very strong in Libra and is saying, you know, it's time to reach across the aisle, diplomacy, talk to each other, kind of come together, but stop playing nice. Let's do this from a place of strength, okay? And Venus has been strengthened by many aspects that we've been through. Now then, right after Venus moved into Libra, she trines Pluto. And Venus and Pluto are of a similar octave, if you like, if you want to call it that. Venus is earthly desire, what we desire, what's our, you know, social, earthly, physical connection in many ways, as well as ideas and talking. And Pluto is soul's desire, and Pluto is in the sign of the people. And, you know, I think we overemphasize Pluto alone through the signs a lot of the time. But this is new ideas, new coming together, mixing earthly desires with soul desires, saying this is now what we want to create for the future. Of course, Pluto will go back into Capricorn for a short while to kind of mop up what we're kind of cleaning up here, the mess that we're cleaning up. So you will see that in your own life as well again. And then towards the end of August the 29th, Thursday, the sun will reach that 6-degree mark and will aspect Pholus and Ceres and make a quincunx to the North Node. To my mind, this is all saying make an adjustment. We keep being pulled towards this Virgo. This is saying, you know, get humble, you know, admit that you could have been wrong. Do some self-analysis, if you like, and then take a stand from that place. Okay. So I don't need to go into much more details. On the 30th, the sun will actually trine Ceres as well. So all of that's kind of happening at the same time to the nodes, to, you know, the North Node, semi-sextiles to all this South Node energy. We're in another big turning point, basically. But this one is pulling us towards taking a stand and actually kind of fighting for our new kind of perceptions and beliefs in many ways, in all ways. Also on the 30th, on Venus Day, Friday, incidentally, the moon will move into Leo. So we'll have a moon in Leo weekend, which is more fun, more joyous, but we're in the waning moon here, heading towards the new moon on September the 2nd. So that's all that's happening on Venus Day. So let's move to 31st. The 31st, there are no significant aspects. This is actually quite a nice quiet day in the midst of what is really a very big week, okay, of changing sands, changing direction, some earthquakes, some shocks, some inner, some outer. And then on to, I am actually going to move into next Sunday, even though that will also be on next Sunday's report because this is huge. So on Sunday at 11:17 a.m., Uranus stations direct here. Now, I think it's worth mentioning, even though I don't usually look at asteroids in this report, that it's opposing Pallas Athena, the problem solver, the wise owl. It's also going to be, in fact, let me get it to Uranus exact straight station point. So 11:17 a.m. Sorry, excuse me. Uranus stations direct, opposing Pallas Athena, as I said, the problem solver, in a semi-sextile to Mars. And I've already mentioned, remember we had that Mars-Uranus conjunction that was affecting both Trump and Biden. I'm only trying to refresh your memory from when it was. You know, it affected the assassination attempt and all the people coming out opposing Biden and saying, we want you to step down. This is now in a semi-sextile and saying, you know, we've got to change. We've got to change. We've got to change to solve our problems. And I will also mention, and I'm going to actually draw a quick line. Yeah, I think I've got that right. That this is all. Oh, why haven't I got a line on? I think, oh, because I'm using the wrong line. I'm trying to do, sorry. Okay, Uranus. The galactic center is at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. Mars pointing at that. All of this kind of making this pattern with each other all around 27, 28 degrees. The galactic center is at 27 degrees as well. Let me actually just get my mouse back and maybe put the galactic center on for you. So stars, yeah, I've just got to go. Wish I could actually search this, but anyway, let's put it on. I'll put it on and I'll take, well, you can see 2711, 2715, 28, the galactic center opposing Mars or Mars opposing the galactic center. New coming in, new information, new beliefs, new future, new exploration, new, you know, this is just another huge week. So, you know, I'll keep, of course, all of this is aspecting Neptune as well, trine from Pallas Athena, sextile from Uranus, which is this ongoing sextile. That's Mars square to Neptune as well, pretty much on this after Venus has just posed Neptune. This Uranus station is huge. It's bigger than usual, shall we say, in so many ways. So that is happening. Well, you can see 11:17 a.m. Sunday, the 1st of September. And I will mention also that, oh, stop. Don't want to draw those lines. Why is that happening? Clear all drawing. Oh, okay. Oh, oh, because it wants me to do something else there. Goodness me. too many windows open again. Later that day, and I am going to go into Sunday because, well, I'm just going to go minutes to. So Uranus stations retrograde at 11:17 a.m. I'm actually going to edit the chart. 7. Pluto, 1 minute later, shifts back into Capricorn and will be there till November the 19th I feel like it's clearing up the mess that Pluto's journey through Capricorn started in 2008. And we've had awful aspects from Pluto to other planets during that time, so we can't blame Pluto alone. Please don't. Pluto's so feared in astrology, and I've talked about it before. I've looked way ahead for Pluto's whole time through Aquarius, and I do not see any aspects like that. But this will really activate Pluto, Neptune, Uranus mini grand trine that is going to take us from this earth and water into fire and air over the next year or so. I've talked about it on a great video with Steve Judd that will actually go public on September the 1st because we put it to our members first of all. This kind of Pluto going back into Capricorn, I feel, is completion. This at these end degrees with Uranus heading towards the end degrees, even though he's going retrograde now, we are finishing up all these things that have happened and come to light, and all the changes over the last period since 2008, really, which is just as long as I've lived in Utah. And I feel it. So look back to this period for you personally. Look at all that's changed, all that's been disruptive, all that's been good, but all that we needed to release and let go of and purge, which is very Pluto, all the things that have come to light, your own shadow, other people's shadows, what you've had to deal with, because I think Pluto is mopping up. Pluto will never leave this last degree. I'm going to quickly go to show you Pluto stationing direct. Pluto will station direct on October the 11th at 29:38. And then, as I mentioned, we'll go back into Aquarius for the last time on November the 19th, which is after the election. Obviously, I'll be talking more about this as we move through this time because this week is huge, but so is Pluto's shift back into Capricorn and what's launching this week again. Okay, so pay attention to what comes up for you. Pay attention to any shocks, any any kind of surprises or ahas and things. And now, can I find my picture? Yes, I'm going to give you the cards. They really reflect the astrology as well. It's not an easy week, I am really going to say, but it's also, a week that's taking us in the right direction. So for the week, we have the Hermit reversed, the Wheel reversed, the Three of Swords reversed. Before you look at this card and go, swords reversed are usually good. Okay, so if you want to kind of look at the astrology and the tarot together and how the astrology shows up in the tarot, my book, The Complete Guide to Tarot and Astrology, is in my Amazon store. So we're going to look at this, even though this is not from the Light Seers deck. Each deck has its own meaning, so I'm going to look at both a little bit, but this, the Hermit card reversed, is the Virgo card. We've got, you know, Venus in Virgo opposing Neptune this week. We've got the Sun in Virgo. We've got all of this. But this is reversed. This is element Earth. This is also 9, it's the 9 card, is a number of accomplishment. And when it's reversed, this is saying you do need some solitude, the Virgo Hermit reversed, but this can almost also mean kind of too much navel gazing and an anti-social perspective. We do have, you know, we've been through such a terrible traumatic time over the last few years, everybody collectively, and a lot of people are processing these shifting perspectives and are not able to release it. So this is more of a caution about where you kind of have those old beliefs, old faiths, and this antisocial perspective and unwillingness to move forward. Now, the Light Seers deck herself says that this is about isolation, ignoring your inner voice as well, losing your sense of purpose, not trusting yourself, withdrawing from society, which is the antisocial perspective. It's a caution. It's saying there's so much going on that you may find yourself reverting to some of this old paradigm that just is asking to be reversed. So then we move on to the wheel, reversed again. The wheel is always, it's the wheel of fortune. It's a big turning of the wheel, okay? And so this is Jupiter's card, and this is all the elements because it's kind of like the sacred hoop as well. But it's a 10, which is new beginnings, but reversed, this is stagnation, lack of progress, setbacks, and a warning to slow down. And I really would this week because there's so many shifts and changes. Slow down. Okay. This in the Light Seers deck, this is about relinquishing the idea that you can control everything with this much change going on. But it's also about the inevitability of change, karma, and saying surrender to this change which is happening collectively and within us. And then we have the reversed Three of Swords. So this is the Libra sign card, but it's also Saturn in Libra. And this is 3, so it's a creative number, so yay. And again, reverse swords are usually more positive than the upright. So reversed keywords for this from my book are forgiveness, compromise, reconciliation, and conflict resolution. From the Light Seers deck itself, it's a need to heal, you know, a call to not stay stuck in any grief or sadness, not and you know, taking a look at the part you played in your circumstances and having that willingness to reconcile and resolve conflicts. An example I would give being purely vulnerable and things, and again back to my politics, but it can be conflict resolution with family, friends, and community, everything. You know, I was a Bernie Sanders delegate in 2016. I've mentioned before, I went to the DNC, and here we are, another one 8 years later. Now the energy's shifted, and I have been examining my part in, not that I'm solely to blame, you know, this is huge, but my part in not seeing the good in elected representatives, or not willing to play my part, or not willing to accept that they are human, which is where we're moving very much as well. You know, I was, you know, a bit of a bratty, horrible person at times in that election, and I'm willing to look at it, which is that Three of Swords reversed, and seeing that I don't have to be that way anymore. I can change and I can come from a more co-creative perspective. So there you go. I will see you next time. Wow, what a week. Whoa. Please do your self-care. And, you know, your thinking as Mercury stations and all that, you know, a bit of self-reflection, but do it through self-care and kindness to yourself as well. All right.